Hello everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 and back to sport mode for the third round of the Nations Cup. We're here in Brazil for the third round and we're driving the Super Formula cars for this round. A very interesting combination. Super Formula cars don't often leave Japan, if ever, so driving them here is kind of interesting. We immediately get in trouble for crossing the pit exit line in the brief warm-up session. But that's the thing here as well. I had very little practice before this. I did a handful of laps a few days before the event, and that was it. In terms of tyre wear, etc., I have no idea what we are in for, so yeah, I'm just going to have to make up the strategy on the fly and see how it goes. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's obviously I've driven this track before, I've driven these cars before, but never this combination. We've been awarded the number 2 by the racing number gods today. Yeah, that is something. Anyway, we actually do complete the majority of a lap in the warm-up session this time, before it gets cut off. Just enough time to serve our penalty before we get kicked out back to the menu screen. And we get ready for qualifying, and that's probably the most valuable piece of practice I had. You know, the few laps, multiple days before the event isn't really going to help me. So yeah, we get into qualifying then, and we'll see what we can do, but I don't have high hopes given the lack of practice. And you know, these cars, I don't even know how to describe it. They're easy enough to drive, but to master them and to actually get, you know, a good amount of speed out of them. There's another pit line cutting infringement there. You know, to get the most out of them, you really do need to put in the laps. And okay, well, forget what I said about them being easy to drive. They really do not like curbs. You know, being open wheelers, it's not really what they're meant for. So yeah, it's going to make things a little bit trickier because now we're in a bunch of traffic as we get ready for qualifying. But oh, bye. It looks like we're not the only one having a bit of trouble, so that's encouraging. We are in a field of equally talented drivers. We'll just leave it at that. So let's get going and see how qualifying goes. Unfortunately, on our first lap, we did that exact same thing, spun on the curb, and we're very lucky not to take anyone out as we came flying back onto the road. So that sort of ruined our first lap. Not the optimal line through there, and we're going to have to go again, and we do. And we actually have time for 3 laps in this session. Lap 2 was okay, but I think we can do better as we headed down through Estebocena and Curva do Sol. I did look up the pronunciations and translations of all of these corners and straights. Sun curve, that one is, now along the Heta Aposta straight, the opposite straight into Descida de Lago, descent from the lake apparently. That seems a bit backwards to me, but as we go a bit wide there, that might attract a penalty, unfortunately, as we do have to watch out for that car behind us. Now into Ferradura, which means horseshoe, and Laranjinha, which apparently just means orange. This right-hander is called Esse, which I'm not sure if it just means S or that, which is what apparently the translation is. But anyway, left-hander Pinheirinho, that is a pine tree. Now into the right-hander of Bico de Pato, that means duck's bill, assuming that refers to the shape of the corner. Left-hander here is Mergulho, that is the dive, I believe. And then the final real corner, Junção, most people know that, it is a junction. Then along this uphill section, Subida dos Boxes, climb from the pits, which also doesn't make sense because we're heading to the pits, not from the pits in this direction. But anyway, apparently that is what it translates to. I'm not 100% sure if those translations are accurate. It doesn't fully make sense to me. But regardless, that was all just a distraction from our terrible qualifying effort. We only got P8, so yeah, that wasn't great. The lap itself was not particularly great either. We missed a lot of apexes, and yeah, just overall, yeah, didn't come together. So that is qualifying done. We'll see what we can do from 8th position. Hopefully we can do better in the race, but it's anyone's guess. So with that said, let's get into it and see how it goes. Alrighty, well here we are then, once again, World Series Nations Cup Final 2023/24 Exhibition Series Season 2, Round 3, Autodromo de Interlagos, also known as Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Anyway, let's take a look at the starting grid, see where everyone lines up. On pole position, we have Chris Starkey, 94. And in P2, Limo 711. And in 3rd position, Witkalen. And then in P4, Gixaguy 70. And starting in P5, RC Robot. And starting off 6th position, Mr. C Hunt. And in P7 we have Moose. And starting in 8th position, myself, McPlayer 8T. And in 9th position we have a Batman. And starting P10, Matt Rosewarn. Starting out of 11th position we have Macca. And starting at P12, Mr. Skittles. And in P13, Socks. And starting out of P14 we have Papen Wars. You know, I thought with only Australians and Kiwis the names would get easier to pronounce. Apparently that's not true. Away we go for the Nations Cup here at Autodromo de Interlagos. And we'll see how we go down towards the first corner. A little bit of kerfuffling going on up ahead. We'll just take things nice and easy and make sure we don't get caught up in any silliness as we head through Curva de Sol. And we've actually made quite a few places here as we're up into P4 now. As we have a look down the inside, we'll see if we can make the move on Matt Rosewarn, who started, I believe, out of P10, and they're up to 2nd position as we sneak up the inside. We'll take that for ourselves. We've gone from 8th to 2nd in just the first, 3rd of a lap, really. So that is awesome. As Rosewarn goes full send back down the inside. Mr. C Hunt has taken the lead from ways down the grid as well, so there's been a lot of chopping and changing throughout the opening lap, and we'll see if we can cause a little bit more as we get very close to Rosewarn once again. We're close enough, we can't quite sneak the nose in as we head up towards Junsao, and we'll have to remain behind for a bit longer. But the pace seems good in the early phases. This one, a bunch of places made as everyone else was making a mess of the first few corners, and that's very much helped us. Unfortunately, no replays for this one. The main focus in the video will be the 2nd attempt. I'm basically treating this as a practice run. It's a low points race. I had barely any practice for this event, full stop. I have no idea what the strategy will be, so yeah, I decided basically from the start that this will be more or less a practice run for a more serious attempt next time. So yeah, that will be later in the video, of course. Now, as we continue on, getting close to the back of Matt Rosewarn into turn 1, not able to do anything there, and we actually ended up quite slow as they were slow on the apex, so we just had to kind of match that. And yeah, it got caught us out, lost a lot of time, and thankfully we do have a big gap to the group behind, and we're not going to have to be too concerned about them. Big mistake there though, as we got all sorts of confused there behind Matt Rosewarn, but we push on, and we'll see now if we can close in as we head through the center S once more, using plenty of curb through here. And we do have a good run this time on the exit, nice and early into that slipstream, and now along towards the left-hander of Interlagos. We'll get the move done and move ourselves up. A lot of curb on the inside there. Thankfully we're okay to do that, and yeah, we're up now into second position ahead of Matt Rosewarne. So yeah, we'll see if we can catch up to Mr. C Hunt. If we can, we may have a race win on our hands, but we'll see. That is of course already a long shot. I don't know what tyres they're on either. You know, for all I know, everyone around us could be on the mediums, so we could be looking a lot better than what we really are. It's going to be hard to tell. But as we continue on, Mr. C Hunt makes a bit of a mistake. We kind of follow there, but unfortunately in our case that's going to earn us a penalty, only a small one, half per second, but you know, serving that at the start of the straight affects you all the way down towards turn 1 from where the penalty line is, just after Junsao. So yeah, it's annoying to get that, and then afterwards not getting through this sector very well either. We may find ourselves in a little bit of trouble once we get to that zone of the circuit. So we'll see what happens as we head through the left-hander. Oh, big moment there. We just about save it. I don't know how. But yeah, that's not really ideal either. That's cost us unnecessary time. Just taking too much of the inside curve, getting a bit desperate and a bit excited behind Mr. C Hunt, trying not to lose touch. But unfortunately that's cost us the position to Rosewarne and to Christaki as well. So yeah, it's a bit of an annoying one, but we'll see if we can come back from this. Podium is still definitely possible, pending everyone else's tyre strategies are, you know, if they're the same or opposite to our own. As I've already kind of indicated, compulsory pit stop for this one, both the soft tyres and the medium tyres required for this race. But anyway, Christaki is trying to harass the back of Matt Rosewarne, so we'll see if we have an opportunity to get involved in this lot as we continue on. They continue to fight, and eventually Christaki is going to make that move down the inside through the left-hander of Mergulho, and gets the move done there. We try and follow through with Junsao, but are not able to get the job done, and we remain P4 for the time being. In terms of strategy, I'm basically just thinking I'll stop on lap 10 and see how that goes. I don't know if the softs or the mediums are better in terms of their you know, long-term pace, but we'll see as we now get down the inside of Matt Rosewarne and move ourselves up one more position into third once again. So like I said, podium still definitely possible. We just need to make sure we don't make any mistakes. Unfortunately though for us, that's not going so well, as we again go deep into the left-hander of Interlagos, and that's going to earn us one more half-second penalty. So yeah, if we weren't making those mistakes, we could definitely be in amongst it, but every time we get those penalties, it just puts us back a little bit, and yeah, is not helping us. Bad run through the center S once again, and now we are under pressure once again from Matt Rosewarne. So we'll see what happens as we head down towards Interlagos. We go deep again, very deep this time, and we go all the way around that little separator section there. Are we going to get a penalty this time? Yes, we are, as always. Yeah, we carried a fair bit of speed that time, so that's probably fair, but yeah, the track limiters there, I don't know. It's costing me a lot. Of course I know I should be just staying on the road, but I cannot get that corner right. As you can see, I'm really struggling with it. So yeah, that's my biggest area to improve. Also this right-hander, Bico de Pato, is causing me some issues. So yeah, there's a few areas that I can definitely improve on, and you know, if I can manage that before the second race starts, I think we should be in a good position. But yeah, we are in a bit of pain at the moment in this one. Just struggling to get to grips with the car circuit combination. But we'll push on and see what we're able to do, because despite our struggles, the pace is good enough to keep us in the fight for the podium so far. but we'll see, as we're on the 10th lap of 20, so we'll be thinking about making a pit stop very soon, as we continue to sit on the back of Matt Rosewarne as we head through Junsao. We're going to be able to get a run here as we head towards the start-finish line. We have a little peek to the inside, not going into the pits now because we're in the midst of a nice little battle as we head towards turn 1, and the tyres are still not too bad as well. We're not able to get the move done though, and we remain behind for a bit longer, but yeah, we are still definitely in contention for P3 when the time comes, but you know, the undercut could work as well with everyone's, you know, obviously wearing out the tyres. Throughout this stint, we should be able to potentially get the undercut on Rosewarne if we can't get this move done on track, so I'm starting to think about that as well, and eventually we move on. We do a pit first and we'll try that undercut to see how it goes, but yeah, the medium tyres will go on the car now, so we will cost ourselves a little bit of pace depending on how fast the medium tyres are. That's something you know, I don't know yet. I'm not sure I did any laps on the mediums in practice, so yeah, there's a good chance that this could be a very interesting stint. I don't know if we've made this too long or too short, but we'll see as we come out of pit lane. The soft tyres seem fine to last 10 laps, so you know, if anything, this stint is going to be too long. But I know the medium tyres will be able to do it because the soft tyre is good. So yeah, we'll see what happens as we head now towards Ferradura once again. Another penalty from Interlagos as we are currently in P6 after coming out of the pits, and that's a spin into the barrier just gently there. That's done a little bit of damage to the front end though, and thankfully for this race, or for most of the nations races, damage is on light, so yeah, we are able to get away with that, but yeah, it's going to cost us a little bit for a couple of corners until that damage goes away. But yeah, that mistake was really annoying. I was really trying to avoid anything like that. The little half-second penalties are adding up over time, but yeah, that's a big one, and a lot of time lost at once, and the damage as well, which still of course has already gone away, but it's still cost us a bit of time through a few quarters. So yeah, annoying one, but we'll see if we can recover from that. At the moment though, we sit P7, and we go very deep into the first corner, drops us to P9, and yeah, it's just not been a good few laps. The out lap and the start of that lap just yeah, things just fell apart for us in this race. Otherwise, P6 was definitely the minimum that we could have achieved, but now that seems a little unlikely to be able to recover all of that time, with just under 8 laps left to go in this race. At this current moment, we'll push on and we'll see what we can do, and you know, maybe we'll be able to bring something back, but yeah, we move on to the end. We never saw another car, and we crossed the line in P9. Two people didn't make a pit stop and change tyre compounds, and they drop behind us, so that elevates us up into P7. But yeah, a frustrating one, honestly. You know, there was more to gain from that race, but it just wasn't to be. But yeah, Chris Starkey takes the win, as well as pole position. Mr. C Hunt ended up down at P5, so yeah, a little bit of misfortune there, as we could have been there. We were catching Mr. C Hunt, so if we were up there, top 5 could have been on the cards. But I mean, Matt Rosewarne finished P4, and we were ahead of Matt Rosewarne for quite a while in this race. So yeah, definitely could have gotten more out of this one with a few less mistakes, but that's how it goes. we'll go again, and we'll see what happens in attempt 2. And in attempt number 2, as qualifying will begin shortly, something incredible happened here. We've been put in a very high points scoring race. The race winner will get 29 points. I think the most I've seen before now is I think 18. So that's a massive increase, and even if we finish last, we'll get 14 points, which is more than I've scored in any race previously. So what we need to do is finish this race and we guarantee ourselves some good points. So yeah, if we can bring home even a half decent result, even if we just match what we did earlier, that will be massive points. So yeah, let's aim for maybe top 10 as bare minimum, hopefully a bit more than that as we emerge from pit lane inside of Mike Honcho, who we saw in action back at Fuji. We had a little run in qualifying then, but yeah, we get going for our first flyer, and we'll see what we can do on this lap as we head through the Center S, missing all the apexes there. We head through Curva del Sol, getting through there a bit more nicely. That's a fairly inconsequential corner in this type of car, but yeah, we'll see if we can put in a better effort in qualifying this time. Hopefully top 5 like I said in the previous one, but given that this seems to be a very highly rated lobby compared to the previous one, you know, that will tend to skew the results against us, but we should still be able to come away with some good points. So yeah, we'll see how it goes as we head through the right-hander Pico de Pato, getting through all of these corners much more nicely than in our initial qualifying effort for the first race, and this is only the first lap in this session, so we'll see what we can do. We may get a bit of slipstream up towards the finish line as we get closer and closer. We'll see what the lap time is as we come towards the line, and we're into the 19s. So there's a massive improvement over what we were doing previously. Not a great run through the Center S though, once again, as this car is going in all directions at this point, but a good run on the exit. We'll see if we can get through. Not ideal having to make an overtake in qualifying, but when you catch up to someone, you just sort of find yourself in that awkward situation. But we'll see if we can improve on our lap regardless. In the end though, we were unable to do so, and we now have just one chance left to improve on our time, which currently has us sat in P5. So even in this high point scoring lobby, we are still looking to qualify quite well. So that's amazing news. We'll see if we can improve on that further as we head through this lap, if we're going to be able to do anything more than what we have. But even P5 or P6 as it is now, we've dropped down 1, would be an incredible qualifying as we work our way through the lap. And now we are starting to get it, starting to be able to drive this car on the lines, or much closer to the ideal lines, and starting to actually look like a semi-competent driver, unlike qualifying in the previous one where we were absolutely all over the place. But we're green at the moment as we head through Jun South, so we might be able to improve on our time as we took a lot of curb there. We go around the outside. Thankfully coasting was on there because we did just about clip through their wheel. But anyway, towards the finish line now, we will improve on our time, but it's still only going to be a P6 for us in this one, so no positional improvement. In this case, Tricky G gets pole position so far, assuming there's no changes. A Cold Trickle, Juicy Jack P3, Dilos P4, Mike Honcho, decent effort P5, and Meet Me Pete we've seen earlier as well back at Fuji. They are down in P8. Not sure if there's any other names. Oh, Mr. Skittles is back, as well as Chris Starkey. Not a great qualifying this time, no pole position. Interesting, Christaki went again after winning the previous one, but obviously more points are available this time around, even if they just finish, so definitely worth doing, you know, if they know they can score more points. But anyway, we now get ready for the race itself here at Autodromo de Interlagos, and once again a reminder of the points. A lot on offer for this one, so without further ado, I think it's time we get into it. Alrighty, once again, the World Series and Nations Cup Final 2023/24 Exhibition Series 2, Round 3, Autodromo de Interlagos. Alrighty, so here we are on the grid, ready to go racing here in Brazil. Let's see where everyone lines up on the grid. On pole position, it is going to be Tricky G. And starting out of P2, Cole Trickle. And in third position, it is Juicy Jack 2187. And in P4, Dilos. P5 will be Mike Honcho. And in P6, myself, McPlayer 8T. Starting at P7, we have Sure Know Something. And out of 8th position, Meep Meep Peep 08. And in P9, we have Mr. Skittles having another go. And in P10, Ava Phillip. Or Felipe, I'm not sure. P11 we have Christaki 94, and in P12 Speedy Rogues, and in last position the Pro 23Q. Alrighty, with the grid set, let's get ready to go racing. The number 12 has been bestowed upon us today as we get racing here in Brazil. Let's see if we can have an equally good start as we had in the previous one. As we head into turn 1, a little bit deep there, and that still kind of works for us. We ghosted through a bunch of cars, and that's actually still allowed us to get up into P4, so quite similar to the previous race really, as we get a great exit, and we'll see if we can head down the inside as we head towards Interlagos. And late on the brakes, we get the move done as Meep Meep goes a bit wide, as well as Dilos, and that's allowed us up into second position again in this part of the track. So that is two fantastic starts in a row. Cole Trickle has absolutely taken off, but that is as perfect as a start as we could have hoped for in this one, going from P6 to P2. We are the master of the first four corners of the race here. But let's see how things go as we continue through the lap. Maybe getting a little bit on Cole Trickle, but we'll see how the race plays out over the full duration. But the first lap has been once again a very, very successful one, and we've been able to elevate ourselves all the way up into second position from P6. So certainly no complaints about that, and we've set ourselves up for a good race. But there were others who were not so fortunate. This is the onboard with the pole sitter, Tricky G. A bad launch off the line already has lost the lead to Cole Trickle, and then everyone and their dog wants to go down the inside, and yeah, they end up losing a whole bunch of places there, down into P5 as they sort of got barged out of the way by the entire field there, and then a good run in the slipstream of Meep Meep Peep, and makes a little look to the inside. Meep Meep goes very deep around the outside and can't make anything of that, getting a bit caught up there with Dilos as well, and Tricky G takes back P4, but yeah, not the ideal start for Tricky G as they head up now into the right-hander. Oh, bit of contact there with Dilos, and that's a bit awkward. They try and go for the move around the outside, not going to get that done. Meep Meep sneaks through, and manages to take that position, and as Delos goes wide, Meep Meep takes that position as well and moves up into P3. So good manoeuvring there from Meep Meep Peep, and they've managed to take advantage of these two fighting it out between themselves. And Meep Meep's up to third ahead of Delos and Tricky G, down into fifth position though, gaining on Delos once more, maybe looking for the move around the outside towards turn 1, and should be able to get this done with a bit of slipstream from Meep Meep Peep, and does so, and moves up into fourth position as Meep Meep goes a touch deep there, but no big deal. And Tricky G gets this move done as well. Delos fighting back for a second there, bit of contact with the back of Tricky G as they continue this ride down towards the Interlagos once again. I don't think Delos is close enough to go for a move, but Tricky G will hold on. A bit wide there on the exit though, Delos is back through, and just a couple of little mistakes there from Tricky G, costing dearly. A few more on board from the start then. This is on board with Juicy Jack on the way to the first corner, and gets turned around. Well, not quite. And okay, now they've turned themselves around in recovery. That's a very frustrating one when that happens. You're moving at snail's pace, just trying to get going, and you spin yourself out with a few too many hamburgers on the accelerator. But yeah, that's unfortunate, as they do get back past Mr. Skills, who's obviously has an issue there. But we go on board with Delos off the start. I believe it is Delos who makes the contact with Juicy Jack, but it's a little bit hard to tell with the ghosting exactly what happened. It's hard to say who's ghosting on, you know, other people's screens. It can be different sometimes, I think. But yeah, it's certainly a bit, I don't know. It's turn 1, everyone has their unique braking point. It's not always, you know, intentional, but yeah, it's too many cars going into one. A standing start as well is always going to create a little bit more chaos, because you don't have the cars already sort of separated and rolling. But on board with Shauno something here, great launch off the line, bad one for Mike Honcho, and far out. They are very lucky not to get completely wiped out there by, I believe that was Mr. Skittles flying sideways across the road there. So there's a lot to unpack from the first few hundred meters of this race, and we'll see if we can find out a little bit more about what happened to Mr. Skittles towards the first corner. And I saw an opening and the door shut at the last moment, and that sent them hard into the wall. That's a painful one, and that will be the end of the race for Mr. Skittles. They quit very soon after that. I believe the engine was damaged. Of course it would repair itself, but I think that's why they were so slow in this particular zone of the circuit heading onto the straight, and why Juicy Jack was able to get past so quickly. But yeah, this is on board with Chris Starkey, very late on the brakes, and just wobbles off the road slightly there. You know, there was a lot of contributing factors to all the chaos at the first corner. But anyway, we continue on with the race, and this is, I believe, Juicy Jack getting past Ava, Phillip, and Chris Starkey, who are serving penalties for their earlier infringements at the start of the race. Yeah, moves ahead of those two, and we'll start the recovery process. Obviously they have good pace, they qualified P3, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do from the back of the field. They continue on then, and catch up to the Pro, make the move down the inside, nicely done there, and they are making quite rapid progress through the field. Of course, those first couple were aided by penalties, but yeah, Juicy Jack looking very quick at this phase of the race. Oh, a spin though, and that has just thrown away a lot of good work for, oh, and another one. They got to stop doing this, the double spins are really not what you want to be doing, and that's a lot of time lost again for Juicy Jack. But they'll get moving again and continue pushing on. They'll see if they can catch up, but it's really not been a great start to the race, and it'll be a long road to recovery. Further up the road, we have a side-by-side battle here. Sure knows something going for the move on Speedy Rogues as they're side-by-side through the center S there. And who's going to come out on top here? Looks like it's going to be Sure knows something, as Speedy Rogues is now under pressure from the Ferrari liveried car. Mike Honcho there going for the move around the outside as they all head towards Interlagos. Something leads Rogues and Honcho stays behind. So that is a battle for P6 at the moment, as it is really heating up in the midfield. These three driving very well at the moment and racing respectfully, which is great to see. But right now Mike Honcho just not quite able to make the move on Speedy Rogues, but certainly has some decent pace, and we know what they are capable of. We saw them very, very quick at Fuji, taking the pole position there, and I believe second in the race. So the Super Formula cars, of course, are a very different beast, but you know, a good driver is a good driver. But at the moment, Mike Honcho not able to make the progress up the field after a poor getaway off the line. But anyway, we see the first of our stoppers coming in very early in this race. It is Mike Honcho coming into the pits, getting rid of presumably medium compound tyres, going to go onto the softs for the rest of the race. They can do it, so I didn't really talk about that too much. But yeah, the soft tyres are fantastic. They can really go as long as you need them to. So yeah, minimising the length of the medium tyre stint will always be helpful. So Mike Honcho comes out of pit lane, crosses pit exit line. That's a 3-second penalty. Easy mistake to make. But yeah, that's a very costly one as well. So unfortunate there for Mike Honcho. Back on board with myself. Not too much going on in our world. Run a little bit wide there. That's given us a half-second penalty. That's really all the action we've had in the first 4 laps of this race. We serve the penalty. That's going to actually drop us a spot eventually to Meet Me Peep, who's going quickly at the moment. And yeah, that's it's probably not the worst for us, because we're going to be coming under pressure very, very soon anyway from Meet Me Peep. Meanwhile, fights continue through the field. Juicy Jack trying to get past Ava Phillip once again. Oh, another wobble there. So that is, I don't know, it's strange to see. Juicy Jack's so fast, but keeps having these little moments, and yeah, just needs to settle down that rear end a little bit to get you know, the most out of that car, I think. But they're going very, very quick, so they must be doing something right. But there's another penalty for us. We're not doing something right down at Interlagos, and we're continuing to make that little mistake. And this time we're going to lose, I think, a couple of positions here, as Tricky G and Dilos are both close behind us. Tricky G gets through very easily there. We'll get a little bit of slipstream along the run to the first corner, but it won't be enough, and we don't really need to fight these two anyway. They're faster than us. If we get into a rhythm later and catch up, then we'll go for it, but right now we don't need to be involved in their little battle, which has been ongoing since the start of the race. Those two have not been separated, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Another spin there for Juicy Jack. That is that must be getting very frustrating. I think that's the third one so far, the third incident. So yeah, what they could be doing without those, we don't know, of course, but it's costing them a lot of positions. They drop in behind Ava Philippe once again, as they have another moment at Junsao, thankfully getting away with that one. And off the road there at turn 1 goes the Pro, and that loses them a position to Chris Taki, who gains one there. So yeah, there's a lot of mistakes going on in this one, as once again we see Juicy Jack on the back of Ava Philippe and going for the move down the inside into turn 1. Ava fights it back though, but a bit too deep. Juicy Jack holds it on the road as Ava runs it a bit wide, but an attempt to defend there, but Jack gets through and moves up another position. And all sideways there for Mike Honcho in the Ferrari liveried car. Spins it around again, gets things pointing in the right direction after that little spin, but yeah, an unusual mistake there for Mike Honcho, and off the road goes the Pro as well at Bico de Pato. So a few mistakes creeping in up and down the field in that little phase of the race. Back on board with myself. We've already fallen well down the field, now into P6, and we attract ourselves another penalty, which will drop us another spot further as Speedy Rogues goes through. I don't think I showed Sean something getting past us, not sure when that happened, but anyway. Yeah, we've dropped into P7 now. It's not going our way really. We just keep making that mistake and it's costing us positions every time we have to serve that penalty. But further up the road, this battle between Tricky G and Dilos that just never seems to end is fully raging on once again as they're side by side through the Center S and Curva de Sol, and this fight continues along the run down side by side towards the Interlagos, and Dilos comes out on top this time and moves up into third position, a bit wide though. Tricky G back on the inside, gets it done and maintains the position. So these two are absolutely not giving up on this fight. They're fighting well together, driving cleanly, but the intensity of this fight for third is absolutely through the ceiling. And now it looks like Dilos trying to set up a bit of a switchback here through Bico de Pato, and they might be able to do it. Actually, a beautiful switchback there. Well done. That is fantastic. That is a textbook switchback. That's the word I'm looking for. And gets the move done on Tricky G. And these two will continue this fight all a race long. At this rate, they are not going to let the other get away, and they will have to watch out because there are, others slowly chipping away and gaining some time on the battle pack, and the first to do that will be Sean something. They slowly get closer and closer. Then a Speedy Rogues just ahead of myself. A little bit further back, but there's a bit of a gauge of the distance and the time we've already lost to those ahead. But anyway, we get a good run on the Speedy Rogues and see if we can make this move around the outside into the first corner as we begin to stabilise our race once more, stop getting those penalties as we do cut the corner a bit significantly there. We will thankfully get away with it, and that moves us up into P6 once again. So yeah, still, the pace is good, and we can run with the cars around us. Oh, Sean knows something there off the side of the road. What's happened there? They've obviously had a coming together or a spin, and that has, put them in that position. They were getting involved in the fight ahead, and didn't quite have the run there to quite do anything. But now along the straight, can they do anything here? And what exactly happened at the left-hander? They weren't involved in contact evidently. They just dropped it on their own into the barrier, and that is a costly little mistake as myself and Speedy Rogues go through, and we get a free position each out of that one. But Sean something has been very, very quick, so they may catch up anyway. But oh, another moment there into the first corner for Juicy Jack. And they have a bit of a drift through turn 2 as well, but yeah, that car is seriously on edge. I think that time they touched the grass on the way into the first corner and managed to save it, which is impressive. But yeah, they continue to make mistakes. There's a bit of a wobble for us out of the final corner. We were very lucky to save that, and that allows Speedy Rogues back through. So yeah, we are still just making a couple of mistakes here and there that are costing us, but if we can get around this position, P6, P7, I'd still be very, very happy with the weekend's work. But we'll see how it goes as we head down through the Center S once more. We're going to be close enough to make the re-overtaking move towards the Interlagos. We've got the momentum on our side after a bit of slipstream, and we should be able to make this move rather easily down the inside. They give us the room, we try and give as much space as we can on the exit, and we are through and up into the top 5 once again. After that mistake from Sean something certainly helped us. Looking back to the pro, they wobble off the road once again at Junsao. Unfortunate little mistake there, and like I said, more mistakes creeping into this race the deeper we go in. Speaking of going in, that is Sean or something heading into the pit lane. Chris Starkey there stays out for another lap as we look back to Juicy Jack, who is serving a penalty. Just a brief one there, most likely track limits, similar to what we've been getting. But Juicy Jack also in pit lane as Sean or something arrives in the box. A new set of tyres going on for that car. They get moving once again as further back we look to Juicy Jack, who is still recovering from the earlier mistakes and tangles in the race, but is doing a decent enough job. The other one, Sean or something comes out just ahead of Mike Honcho, and they're very, very close on track. So is there anything Honcho is going to be able to do about the car in front, as he does seem to have the pace at the moment, but no way through, and is forced to stay behind for the time being. And yeah, they run side by side up towards Pico de Pato, but still no overtake to be made there, as Mike Honcho is really trying to set up the move here, but just cannot do it at the moment, and stays behind. Meanwhile, Tricky G into the pit lane for a new set of tyres, and we'll get racing once again. And also into the pits comes the Pro, and they also, of course, will change tyres a bit further back in the field. Yeah, everyone, slowly getting their strategies sorted out. Next in comes Meep Meep Peep, who's been running a solid race so far. Should be on target for a podium finish if things continue this way. And they get moving out of pit lane once again. Next we have Ava Philippe into pit lane. I believe that's how you pronounce the name, I looked it up. And yeah, they will get a new set of tyres on as well. Out of pit lane they go, and we finally go back on board with myself for another turn 4 penalty. Oh no, not this time. Yes, actually. How did we get that so wrong? That's just pathetic. That's like, it looks like I'm trying to get a penalty at this point. But we didn't actually get a penalty that time, we just lost a position. Once again to Speedy Rogues. So yeah, I don't even know what I was doing there. I think my concentration was starting to falter at this stage of the race. We're past the halfway point, getting towards the pit window, and yeah, I honestly don't really know what happened there, but there was no reason not to make that corner. It just went off the road, so that was a bit annoying. Clearly I just need to wake up, as into the pits now comes Dilos, and is trying to get back into that little fight with Tricky G, as Chris Starkey is also into the pit lane in the Red Bull car. They get moving too. Actually, a bit of a pause there, so a little bit of refueling, I think, going into that car. Obviously they just weren't paying attention, and a spinner there, or almost a spin, gets away with it. Mike Honcho once again. So that is a very, very good save, and they'll be grateful they didn't have any sort of bigger incident there. But yeah, we've seen a few mistakes from Mike Honcho. Not quite the driver we saw back at Fuji in the Mazdas, but these cars certainly not for everyone. They're not for me, and I've made a couple of mistakes here and there as well. So yeah, it's really putting even the very good drivers to the test. No, that is a full spin for Mike Honcho at Mergulio, and that is a very unfortunate mistake. Lost a lot of time, but they'll get moving again, but we'll drop a position or two. So yeah, that's it's so costly when you spin. We found it in the previous one. We could have been on for top 5, and we end up finishing P7. Anyway, we have Juicy Jack trying to make a move on Chris Starkey. Gets the move done. Chris Starkey back down the inside, though, into the first corner. Side by side, Chris Starkey gets back through, and Juicy Jack has to settle behind once again. Tries to look to the inside on the curb there in a moment, and that's going to allow Mike Honcho through as well. So things still not going Juicy Jack's way at the moment. That's unfortunate, as They all head towards Interlagos, and no change for position there, but a good run for Mike Honcho this time on the exit. Can he get the move done into Ferradura? Not going to happen. Honcho backs out, and Kristaki holds on once again. A bit wide there for Honcho on the exit, but keeps things under control. Further up the road, Tricky G on the back of Dilos once again. These two back at it. Meep Meep Peep not far up the road. Probably being slightly held up by myself in front of this little group, as you know, it wasn't too long ago we were overtaken by Tricky G and Dilos. They've made pit stops and caught up on board with Juicy Jack here. A bit of a slide through Pinheirino, not a big deal. They managed to catch that one, but still just more evidence of you know, unwanted characteristics out of that car. But they're extracting the pace out of it, so they can't be doing too much wrong. But anyway, getting very, very close there between Mike Honcho and Kristaki. As further up the road, we see Speedy Rogues coming into pits on this lap, and that'll be their compulsory pit stop ticked off. We're going to do the same. We almost went too deep actually into pit lane, just about got away with it without cutting that entry line. But yeah, that was a close one. New set of tyres on for Speedy Rogues, and a new set of tyres on for myself as well. We'll both drop it down in the order a little bit, but we should still re-emerge in a decent position. You know, we've seen a lot of people already through pit lane in this one, and we're down into P7 after that stop. So yeah, doing all right, and we'll see if we can potentially come back at the car in front. Meanwhile, we look to Mike Honcho, who's making the move on Kristaki. Finally will get it done and successfully make their way ahead at turn 1. So nicely done there, and they can now push on ahead of the Red Bull car as into the pits comes Cole Trickle, and yeah, that it will be the final pit stop for the field as a new set of tyres go on. Once again, everyone who's doing these short stints at the end will be running the medium compound tyres. You know, most people aren't splitting the race in half, as I you know, found out in that first one. But everyone obviously needs to transit the pit lane at some point for that you know, secondary tyre compound. So Cole Trickle emerges from the pit lane in the lead, no penalties, and is looking very, very strong to win this race. Kristaki off the road there, that allows Juicy Jack to get through. Kristaki also with a penalty to serve as well. Off the road as well for the Pro, who have been struggling with that corner for a while, and one as well down the order. On board with Mike Honcho now, looking backwards towards Juicy Jack, and look at the difference in cornering speed as Juicy Jack gets closer and closer and makes the move to the inside, and Mike Honcho is not going to fight that one. Juicy Jack gets through and takes 8th position. Further back, Ava Philippe, big dive down the inside of Kristaki, gets the move done and moves up into the top 10, so nicely done there. As further up the road, Meep Meep Peep, under pressure there from Tricky G into turn 1, wildly different lines through there, one on the defense, one on the attack, and that's going to result in a fantastic exit for Tricky G. Will make the move down the inside as they head towards Interlagos, and Meep Meep has nothing to offer there and just has to give in. Little bump on the exit, but that's not going to help, and the position goes the way of Tricky G. Further back to Ava Philippe once again through Magulio. Big slide there, getting a little bit tripped up on the curb, bit like what happened to Mike Honcho, but a far less dramatic, and gets away with it as Kristaki has a moment as well. So you know, even the drivers you know, further back in the field still pushing the limits and trying to come away with whatever they can out of this race. We look up to P4 Dilos, who's dropped away in a spin there after, as I was saying, dropping away from Tricky G and Meep Meep in a full spin there. Thankfully for them, they had a big gap to Shauno something, I believe it is, behind, and yeah, more or less gets away with that spin. Good recovery from Sean Knows Something to get back to the top 5 after the spin earlier. And we look further back to P7 myself there with Juicy Jack coming through fair way behind. So I don't think we have to worry about Juicy Jack too much at the end of the day in this one. But yeah, it's getting to the closing stages now. We look to Cole Trickle around Jun Sao and around the final couple of slight left-handers towards the line. It has been a perfect drive. Started P2, took the lead at the first corner and never looked back. Cole Trickle is going to take victory here in Brazil as the fight for second is on, but it's going to be Tricky G who holds off Meep Me Peep for second and third position. Dilos, was well in that fight until that spin at the start of the penultimate lap, but still a very good result to bring home P4 for Dilos. And a spinner there on the final lap. That is Mike Honcho who's thrown it off the road again. And someone's going through there. That is Ava Philippe taking P9. And with that mistake has allowed Ava Philippe to take an extra position. Sean Knows Something crosses the line at P5. And then next up it is Speedy Rogues. Then it's myself just ahead of Juicy Jack, who was flying all throughout that race and had great pace, so almost caught up to us at the end. Then it is Ava Philippe P9 ahead of Mike Honcho, rounding out the top 10. Disappointing result. They had a lot better pace than that. Kristaki P11, a far cry from the win they had earlier, but still this race will be worth more points, I think, as around the final few corners comes the Pro. A troubled race for them, but they will still make the finish and grab a handy haul of points for what was a fairly disastrous race. Here's the run to the line from my perspective. I did see that Juicy Jack was catching up, but I wasn't terribly concerned. I just held the car to the inside towards the finish line, but they never got too close, and we take P7. And I don't know what the points haul is going to be, but it's going to be pretty good for that. Like I said, I wanted to have a decent finish in this race, and that's exactly what we did. Fairly deep inside the top 10, and beat a couple of C-rated drivers in this one, which is nice too. In fact, 3. Ava Philippe, Juicy Jack and the Pro, who did not have a great run today, all C-rated drivers, so that should give us a nice boost to our DR and to all those in front of us. Actually, there's only one D-rated driver in front of us, but still, that is that's really cool. Pretty happy with that result considering the drivers we were up against. I don't think we could have done too much more. You can always say, a couple less mistakes, we could have got P6, but we weren't that far behind Speedy Rogues, but that's just the way it was. The overall race was very good, and the points are massive. 21 points from that. That's almost double anything we've got before. My previous best points, 13, so yeah, with that we have a total of 34. We lose the 10 points from Fuji, which is a little disappointing because was my favourite race of the season so far. But anyway, that's how it goes. We just didn't, despite getting 4th in that race, the points just weren't there available. But anyway, that's how it is. I'm very, very happy to have come away from this race with a decent result and to have taken advantage of the large points haul available. But with that said, that is going to be it for this one. So I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.